welcome to the Linked Life podcast. I'm your host, Christal Anderson, and on this podcast, we talk about leveling up our lives by leveling up our network. And we do that by becoming what I call a high value connection. A high value connection is someone who is concerned about leaving people better than when they first came to them. We leave people feeling joyful and full of life and love, and they feel seen and heard and appreciated. We're not just about the status quo anymore. We're going deeper in love, deeper in friendship, deeper in kindness. And today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Danielle Neal, and I'm going to read her bio and then we're going to get into an interesting conversation. Danielle Neal is a 27-year-old Baltimore raised entrepreneur who started her business, Digital with Danielle, in 2020. At first, this work was essentially a side hustle where she offered advice on how to use social media and its new features through Instagram Live. Her fun conversations there taught her that women, especially, face unnecessary barriers and a lack of confidence when using social media platforms for business growth. She has now pivoted and has her Digital with Danielle as a speaking brand and has her marketing agency, Cloven Marketing, where her company works with businesses to connect with their audience in a compelling way. Okay, well, thank you for joining us, Danielle.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, well, let's get right into it. Today we're talking about, I think I'm going to title it Community and Commerce. Okay, so tell us about your business. How did you get into marketing?
I majored in early childhood education in Baltimore at Coppin State University. And during that time, I needed a remote job, which allowed me to do student teaching and also work at the same time. With student teaching, you cannot have a full time job like other majors allow you to do simultaneously. So with us, we need to find something that works. And so, what I was doing originally was marketing for the Education Association at my school, just posting on Instagram, getting us more followers because as the vice president, that's what I needed to do. And then because of that, I was able to then get a communications director position remotely through a nonprofit. And so with that nonprofit, I was able to learn what marketing was because I already was doing it. I just didn't know what the term was. So I was literally just doing what we needed to do to gain more followers for our education association, to get more people to come to our events, all of that of the sort. And so after that, I was able to do that through the nonprofit. And through the nonprofit, I was able to help them grow their followers, post on Instagram, post on Facebook, and do email marketing, all of that of the sort. As the communications director. So that's how I started first. And then because I learned how to do that, I was talking about what I was doing for that nonprofit org just organically on my personal Instagram. And there would be a lot of people who would follow me and say, hey, this is what I needed to know. I was stuck on Instagram. I didn't know how to do it. Thank you so much for your lives. And then after that, I started Digital with Danielle to help people and guide them through the digital space.
So you started this in college.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
nice.
unofficially, yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
unofficially, I was marketing college, but then I started Digital with Danielle on paper and registered it during the pandemic in 2020.
Okay. And did like your soul light up when you started doing it, or you like, this is fun, I enjoy this space?
Yes. So I loved it because people were empowered. Like that's my main thing of
Mm-hmm.
anything that I touch is to make people feel better than how they came to me. So I don't believe in having a business just for the conversion part, but I believe in having a business for the connection part. So it's how can
Mm-hmm.
I connect you to the your God-given purpose and help you to be in alignment. A lot of people online when they were coming to me is they wanted to market, but they couldn't because they didn't know how to. They when I would talk to them one on one like this, kind of like how we're doing, I would find out that their business was so amazing. But then when I go to their Instagram, like there is no post, there's nothing. And so essentially, it was people feeling stuck and me helping them get unstuck.
Mm. So, do you think that community is important when building a brand?
Definitely. I feel like you can't have a brand without community. Both from the marketing aspect and then just a entrepreneur aspect is a lot of entrepreneurs are drowning, but they don't tell anybody because they don't have a community. And I think from what I learned, and even with me being like 3 years in business, what I observed is that a lot of people will be joining coaching programs for a community, not just for the coaching. And so then once the program is done, it's like you feel like I don't have anybody to talk about my business with because you don't have that community aspect. And it's so important because it allows you to see that you're not alone. And so in entrepreneurship, often people feel like they're alone because they cannot tell anybody about this stuff. They might be the first generation entrepreneur in their family. So I can't talk to them in my family about it because they don't understand the struggles. But if you're talking to another first generation entrepreneur, you guys are able to do better that way. And just in the Bible, it says two is better than one. And then the power of agreement allows you to do more than you could by yourself. So when two or three are gathered, there's so Jesus is. And just as Jesus was able to have multiple people come together and have the prayer of agreement, so do the entrepreneurs need the same thing. You need somebody who can come with you and agree about what God said about your business. You need somebody that who can come with you and agree and pray for you about your business and pray about the struggles you're going through. And that's only able to happen with community. If you're by yourself, you don't know what your strengths or weaknesses all the way until you have somebody else actually saying them for you. So I think if you don't have community, it's really kind of harder for you to build a brand, I feel like, without community.
Well, you talked about building community and how important it is when starting your business. How have friends helped you in your business?
Yeah, so my friends have helped me by even they would send me referrals, they would send me resources. They would even tell people about my business even when I didn't ask them to. And so because they understood the importance of me being able to go further, they would tell people. There are a lot of times where I didn't even ask my friends to say it, and they would, and then turns out somebody just inquired on Honeybook, and I'm like, how did you find out about it? And they would say word of mouth. And then when I do the discovery call, they would tell me which friend recommended. And I do the same thing for my friends as well too. It's just something I believe is important because what I do is not what you do, and so we all essentially are able to eat. So it's no like competition in that aspect. The benefit is that my friends and I, we all have different businesses, so it's like we can each benefit. So my best friend she runs a virtual assistant company. And so with her running her company as a virtual assistant, there are plenty of marketers like me who need that. There are plenty of people in general, entrepreneurs who need that. So I usually recommend them to her, and then she'll do the same for people who are like, oh my gosh, I hate marketing, I can't do it. And then she'll just let them know about me as well too.
Did certain friendships change once you started your own business?
Yes, I noticed that because of timing and because of things that I had to sacrifice, friendships started to change. So, with me being a 9 to 5preneur, right? With you having a 9 to 5 and also being an entrepreneur, at the time you have to shift certain things. Sometimes your weekends you might not be able to hang out, right? Because you're making sacrifices. So there are the seasons where I'm sewing, and then it's a season where I'm reaping. As an entrepreneur, we go through those seasons often. And so um, it's important to explain that to your friends. When you don't explain to your friends about your season as an entrepreneur, it causes your friends to wear the garment of offense. They just automatically get offended, not on purpose, but it happens because they're human. So it's like, well, why does she always decline my invitations? Or why does she not want to go out here with us? Does she not like us or something like that? And that's not the case. It's I'm in a season of sacrifice. I'm in a season of sowing so I can be able to reap. So it's not like I was declining everything, but it's just there was some times where I literally couldn't because for the sake of my business surviving, I had to make sure I put some things into place. So the time where you're laying a foundation for the house is not the time where you enjoy the house when it's built, right? And so if I'm in a space of laying a foundation, I can't enjoy it the way I would when the full house is built. And so that is how friendships changed for me. I just also saw in general of me having to explain it so that way there wasn't offense because your friends could be offended just because they're human and not say anything, but it only happens if I, as the friend, don't take it upon myself to communicate about that season. And so that's really important for you to say, hey, this is the type of season I'm in now. This is the kind of season I'm in now. And being able to tell them what that looks like. It might look like I can hang out once a month, not every single weekend, but I might hang out once a month. And that was the one I can commit to as well, too.
Are those the type of conversations that you have with your friends currently?
Yes. So I even tell my friends, like, this is what I'm doing now to prepare for certain things. So like when I like even right now, even with the transition of the rebranding of me having Digital with Danielle be just a speaking brand and clothing marketing building, one that already has itself together and then the other one doesn't. So it's essentially like you have a 3-year old and a baby. Because Digital with Danielle was 3 years, but clothing marketing, I have to now build it a little differently. So you have a 3-year old, which is established. People are used to you having a 3-year old. They know your schedule with the 3-year old, but now you have the baby. And so, with you having a baby, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be later nights, it's going to be earlier mornings. There are going to be some times where you can't do certain things because you have the baby, essentially. And that's kind of how it is with your business, too. Is you have to communicate how you're going to be taking care of your baby, and your baby essentially your baby comes first, right? Because your baby has to survive. And so that's one of the things that I make sure that I am communicating now as things are changing, especially with me going to be doing more speaking engagements and conferences and all that stuff. I don't want you to see me on stage at a conference on the same day that you invited me to something and I didn't say anything, right? So I want to make sure that I communicate in this season of rebuilding and rebranding too.
That's important. I never really considered that where you let your friends know, like, this is my schedule, this is what I'm doing. I would love to be there, but in this season, I'm trying to, we trying to be booked and busy.
Yeah, yeah.
What are some ways that you feel that friends can support their friends who are starting a business?
Yeah, definitely. So, um, one I believe is important. Prayer is the first thing out of everything. It is important for you to pray for your friends in their business. Um, Prayer is so important for just believers in general, but prayer is important to set the foundation of anything that I'm doing. Even when I was in school, prayer was the foundation for it. Also, because it allows me to build upon it, not build after. And so, with you having a friend that is starting a business, it's important for you to pray that they're in alignment with God's will. One of the things that I learned that when being out of alignment with God's will caused me to not run business His way, but I was trying to run it my way, and it was much harder. And so, being able to even have friends who pray for you, even in the times where you don't even have the time to ask them to do it, but they just do it, which is the purpose of an intercessor. We need intercessors as well, even in entrepreneurship, to help and support you. The second thing that I believe is actually following your friend's page and sharing it to people who you would know that they would need it. You don't have to share everything, but at least share one thing, right? One share is better than zero shares. I think, and that's just helpful because there could be somebody that's following you that needs your friend's business, even if it's a product or whether it's a service. Either one, I always believe in sharing your friend's stuff. The third thing, other than sharing, is don't ask your friends for a discount.
Mm, that part.
Right. And it's extremely important because if you know, especially because not everybody is an entrepreneur that also has a 9 to 5. There's some people who did it straight from scratch and they're doing entrepreneurship. So you asking me for a discount is putting your friend in a negative. And to me, if I care about you as a friend, and I care about you so much as a friend. I care enough to patronize your business. I care enough to pay full price. Care enough about your friend's business to pay full price. Let your friend offer the discount and you not ask for it. It's a difference. So if the friend asks, right, the friend says, "Oh, you know what? Girl, I'm going to give you 10% off." Let them offer it versus you asking for it because now it puts them in a weird space in your friendship where you might feel bad because you didn't get your discount, but everybody else is paying full price. And the other thing too is the other thing that I would suggest for number 4 for your friends is remove the spirit of familiarity from your friend as them being a business owner. The scripture even says the prophet is not honored in his own home, which applies to also friendships. That usually, if you're asking your friend for a discount, there's a spirit of familiarity there. I don't see my friends as just my friends. I see them as the business owner they are, because they're operating in that dimension of whatever God called them to do. So if I'm reaching out to somebody, and just like this, or being in a podcast, I don't just see them as the community member that I know them as. I see them as them operating in that whole dimension of whatever they're called to be. So because of that, I have to remove that spirit of familiarity. This, to me, I'm treating it as the best podcast in the world. I don't treat it as anything different just because, we know each other from a community. I'm treating it at a high value and a high level, just like I would want the same for my services. You get what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. No,
But yeah.
that makes complete sense. I completely agree. I think that you show up with respect, right? Like you put some respect on their name. Like you're
Yeah.
not just, Danielle from the block. You Danielle the business
Dang,
owner, right? Like
you live on the block. Yes.
yeah. No, I completely get that. Those are great. I saw that you had posted on Instagram a while ago. I'm gonna read it. This was a while ago though.
Oh,
It says,
cool.
in order to thrive in your calling, you need community. Every time I prayed to learn something, God sent someone in my life that was able to show me a new viewpoint or teach me something I didn't know before. And I wanted to kind of unpack that because I've been noticing, at least in my personal journey, that, and I heard another podcaster say this, that a lot of times the answer to your prayer is in a person.
Mhm.
So how
Mhm.
have you seen that show up in your life?
Oh my goodness, so many ways. So many ways. So when from the beginning of my marketing journey even to now, every time that I pray, the Lord sends a person. And I don't take it lightly. So that's why I said prayer is the foundation for me. When I was praying about, well, Lord, how am I going to pay for school while also doing student teaching, the nonprofit came, right? And this nonprofit didn't do Facebook advertisements because they didn't do it. They didn't do Instagram ads. They didn't do Google ads. They didn't do none of it. It was literally, I know it was God that told me to be at that place, because this was literally just me stumbling upon it, and literally right after prayer. So I said, okay, all right, I'm gonna apply. Let me do it. I'm being obedient. And so with me applying, then every single thing that I needed to know about marketing, I was able to learn it through that nonprofit, through that person, through that CEO. Um, Through the CEO, she actually believed in everything that I say I wanted to do, because of me having the gift of vision, right? To be able to look 5 years and 10 years in advance. The stuff that I was helping her to do in 2017 is those are the seeds that I planted that allowed them to blossom now even in 2023. But it was only because of me being obedient the to the Lord. And so when I'm obedient, he's able to send the person. But if I'm disobedient, he's not able to, because I would see the blessing as a burden. So now I'm looking at the person and they're here to help me, but I'm actually not benefiting from it because I see them as a burden. And so with that, every time I literally like every time I pray, he sends a person. And then as he sends a person, the enemy also will try to too. That's just how the enemy is. When the light comes, the darkness comes. So even as she was the one who the Lord told me to work with, there were other people trying to offer me positions as well with the same role, same as a nonprofit as well. But I said, Lord, show me the one, and that was the one. And then even with people in general, even this is something I do with business coaches as well, even on Instagram. I pray before I get in a coaching program. That's just something I do, because not even just the fact of um pricing, because that's not an issue if that's where the Lord told me to be. It's going to be provision if he's told me to be there. There's always provision in the path that the Lord has set for you. But when it comes to being in a coaching program, I pray because um if I know that he sent that coach, I know there are also going to be other people assigned to it. So the only reason why we're here today is because of me praying about who I was supposed to be coached by, right? And what membership I should be in. And so with that, that is why I was able to find certain different people. Even the people that follow me, I also pray about that too. Because I don't take it lightly. I think a lot of us think that because we only have maybe 500 followers or 600 followers, even 300 followers on your account, or the account that you're doing with your entrepreneurship, we take those 300 people and we treat them like they're only 3, right? And so if I do that, that means that the Lord cannot trust me with more, because I'm not going back to the original rule of stewardship, which is, Lord, you sent me these people. How do I steward over these people? And so when we get caught up in the numbers of, I'm trying to grow my account, but it's not really moving, a lot of the reasons why our account is not moving is not because of the algorithm, is because of the lack of anointing. So you are not really moving in your anointing like you're supposed to be, which is why your account is not growing. If you're flowing in your anointing, the people will come. The scripture says creation is groaning in manifestation, for the sons of God to manifest. Like, that's literally what they're asking for, is when the sons of God manifest, then, like, you're arising. That's literally what creation is waiting for you to arise. And so when you don't arise, you don't get the followers that you need, because you're quiet and you hide behind your content. You don't say nothing. You'll create the content in Canva and CapCut and don't, and then won't post it, because you feel like, well, my followers aren't growing anyway, why do I need to say anything? And so that's where it goes back to the Lord sending people, is that I'm more, if you're more concerned on numbers, you will never be able to do ministry through whatever God is giving you. And through entrepreneurship is not just um regular degular. I see entrepreneurship as you holding a mantle, that just like you had Moses, who was called for his generation, you had Elisha, who was called for his generation, you had Jonah, even though you got on that bow, he was mostly right there. He was called for a generation. Like, everybody that was called for a generation, when they were obedient, right? They were the person that the Lord was sending to a different place. And that goes back to community. If you are obedient, the Lord sends you the right community and puts you in the community that you have to change to.
Wow, that was a lot. That was a lot. We got to. I don't know if we can unpack all of that. Um, yeah, that was a lot. What are some things that you specifically? I know you talked about this a little bit before,
Mhm.
but what are some things that you specifically pray over your friendships, especially your business besties?
Yeah. For my business besties, I pray that they receive the revenue that they need to give revelation to others. And let me explain that.
Yes, that was my next question.
um, in order for you to give revelation to the community that you're called to, there's a certain revenue that all of us are supposed to reach. And a lot of times people are like, oh, I only need to make a little bit. No, you don't. Because how are you supposed to travel internationally and reach the people in India, in Asia, in China? Like, that's old content, but China, all the different places, if you are stuck at a certain revenue, right? You can't travel as a poor person. You cannot move in a certain dimension being poor. And so when I pray for my best friends and business besties, and even people in general who I'm like associated with, and I pray for them, my prayer is literally they get the revenue that they need to give the revelation for the people they're called to. Is that now that you have reached 6 figures, now when you post about it, the people that thought that it couldn't be done by somebody that looks like you are now able to have faith, right? And so that is something that I pray for revenue. The second thing too is I pray for an increase in their faith, because in order for you to really change things as an entrepreneur, change things as a business owner, you have to have faith in God before you have faith in man. Man is going to be fickle every time, but God is going to always be consistent. And so with that, I say, Lord, have increase their faith in you, because sometimes we'll be, and this happens to all of us, God will show us this big major vision, but we are like, we don't see that.
We
And I'm
scared.
like, you scared. And then you like, okay, so what is this? Or God shows you owning a company and owning all these, like a big company with multiple employees, and you like, I ain't even hiring no virtual assistant, so I don't know where am I supposed to do this. So that's why I ask for an increase in faith, because as my faith increases, I don't listen to the noise around me. I don't listen to what I see on Instagram, and then it doesn't allow me to stay stuck. The third thing I pray for is I pray against the spirit of comparison. When what we see on Instagram is a lot of people compare themselves to people who are not even in their ranking, right? So I'm comparing myself to you, even though we're both marketers, we're not supposed to do marketing the same way. And that's something I had to learn in my second year in business because sometimes I was making revenue goals based on what I saw online. Right, we've all seen the multiple Shopify screenshots, the Thrive Cart screenshots. Everybody throw those screenshots up there and tell you like, "Yeah, girl, come on, 6 figures in a day," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess." Right, not knowing that in what's done in the dark comes to the light is a lot of the people I was learning about in my second year is they were being reported for scamming. And so I said, "Oh shoot."
Oh
Right?
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but if you have the spirit of comparison, you're comparing somebody yourself to something that's not real. Right? So it's
Right.
essentially like you standing next to a wax figure. They both look from afar, they look similar, but as you get closer, you start to see this one is human, this one is wax. And so with that, praying against the spirit of comparison allows them to only compare themselves to the Christ vision. And so now when I'm comparing myself to the Christ vision, I'm looking at what Christ said, just like the scripture says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done as it is in heaven, and also let it be so in earth. If it says it in heaven, which is the vision, as I'm on earth, let me compare to the vision in heaven. Okay, well, Lord, you said I'm this.
Mm.
Okay, well, let me start being like this, and I won't compare to anybody else because I'm focused on this vision. And then the other thing I also pray against is confusion, and just confusion in general, praying that no one comes to them that confuses them and that they don't get confused. So there's nobody that you work for, that work with, like a confusing client, or a client in general that's not supposed to be a part of your business. Just so that way they're not somebody you're not supposed to have, and then they don't mess up your business, because it real like it's a real thing for you to have somebody around you that shouldn't be there. I even think of Jonah too. When you think of that with Jonah, they knew, even though they weren't believers, they knew that he didn't belong around them,
Hmm.
right? And so for my friends, I always pray too, that not even just praying against confusion, but pray that they're alert, because if you're not alert, you don't know what's around you that's not supposed to be around you. But if you are alert, you are able to see, and you actually have alert eyes to be able to see, okay, this is where I should be, this is where I shouldn't be as well.
That's good. Have you ever? I know that you said a lot of your friends have their own businesses, but was there ever a point? Because you talked about praying over comparison. Was there ever a point where you started comparing yourself to your friends and what they were doing, and how did you manage those thoughts?
Um, I wasn't really comparing myself to my friends, but I would compare myself to my peers. Because I
Mm.
would be like, okay, so we both 25. She's doing a little more than you know what I'm saying? Doing a little more than,
Right.
not knowing there were other things happening behind the scenes, right? So, for example, like if I'm working full time, this person is not working full time. They have more time to spend in their business because they only are focused on their business. So, of
Right.
course, you're going to get a little further because you're only focused on your business. Because if you even think about having a 9 to 5, you have to make sure all your work get done before the day is done. You got to make
Oh, I
sure you
know.
have deliverables. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You have deliverables. You got to
Yeah.
answer. You got somebody above you making sure and checking in. They might even try to approve or deny your PTO. You know what I'm saying? Like, girl, like, yeah. But what I was doing was comparing myself to peers, because there were people that were younger than me that was making more than me. There are people that were my age that were making more. But then I also realized, okay, Danielle, they started their business at 16, so they should be. Right?
Right.
They should be. Like, in 9 years in the game, you should be making a lot of money. Daniel, you just started 6 months in, you're a year in, you're 2 years in. So making sure to not compare yourself to peers. And then the other thing too, I even just said this to my friends as well, is I won't send you somebody's business that's like yours to you. So like you don't compare. So I also made sure that I wasn't a source of comparison for my friends. I would send them somebody they could look up to, who I knew it was like, you should join that program to be better, like that type of encouraging thing where they were like, hey, I need a coach for this. And I'm like, okay, this is who I'll send you. But I was not sending them their equal. So they wouldn't even send me somebody else who does marketing
Hmm.
just to make sure that I wasn't in the spirit of comparison also.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really intentional friendship. That's really being intentional. What are some characteristics that you feel, especially entrepreneurs, should be looking for
Yeah.
when they're, building their tribe and their community?
Yeah, I would say love is the first thing, right? Look at the way that they love themselves and look at the way that they love others. That determines how they're going to flow with you. Above all things, one of the greatest things is love. So when you're in your down seasons, are they going to show you love or are they going to be harsh? Now, it's a difference where when you do need your friends to give you like the tough love of encouragement, like, girl, you haven't been doing what you say you need to do, encouraging you with your goals and stuff like that, but that's still done in love. Even tough love is still love because I'm telling you this because I love you and I care about you. So love is the main thing I think you should look for. And then second, it should be empathy. Are they empathetic towards your hard seasons, times where you might be going through something with family? Or are they going to tell you like, girl, get up and hustle and grind? No, it's not that kind of season, right? That's where the empathy comes in. Three, looking for somebody who's motivational because sometimes you can't rely on your own motivation. Sometimes you need somebody else. You need a cheerleader. That's the reason why the cheerleaders at the games, because even the football players be like, dang, I just need a little motivation, right? They know they're a good quarterback, but you need a cheerleader to still encourage you. So you could be running a play, running a game really good. You still need motivation. Some people on these Instagram things like, nah, I'm hardcore. I don't need nobody to motivate me. I got it. Yeah, but you have a wife and she's motivating you every day. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, you have a husband. They're
Yeah.
motivating you every day. So you say you don't need it, but you already have it. I can't tell somebody that they don't need something that I already have. Right? So that's like telling a homeless person, you don't need no home. Of course you're gonna say that because you have one. You know what I'm saying? So I can't
Right.
say that to them. And so I look for those and I just in general I look for friends who actually are available. I think it's important for us to have people who are available when we are looking for friends, right? You need somebody who can actually give to you, and you also need somebody who you can actually give to yourself. So you should be able to receive from them. And then also available also means time. That if you say that we're gonna hang out, we should be able to hang out because of time. And knowing that that availability might change, but just being there, even if it's like a phone call away, that is really important for us. To me, for entrepreneurs, because y'all need somebody to talk to you on those days where it gets crazy or those days where you like, girl, I just want to quit this thing. Like, throw
Right.
the whole business away.
Yeah.
Like, throw
Right.
it
You
in
get
the
super
trash.
discouraged.
Yeah, so you need
Yeah.
people like that. And I think that's important for friendships. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Christal here. I just wanted to say thank you so much for spending time with me, for letting me be in your ear, and thank you for being a part of my community. But listen, if you've gotten any type of value from the Link Life podcast, I need you to do me a favor. Subscribe. If you're listening on any podcast platform, please rate and review. This will allow our podcast to get bigger and to grow and to put it in front of more like-hearted people. Once we do that, we can create more content and have bigger and better episodes, as well as more dynamic guests. So please take some time to subscribe, to rate, to review, and share with anyone that you think would get value from the Link Life podcast. Thank you so much for being a part of my community.
So let's get into your specialty, your niche, marketing. You talk about building community. How important would you say as a business owner it is to build a community for your brand?
Yeah, so all of it's like the top 10. It's like oxygen for your
Mm.
brain. Yeah, it's like oxygen. Branding, of course, is part of the oxygen too. It's a little different oxygens. But it's essentially it's extremely important because your community is are the ones that are ambassadors for your business before you are. So when you think of like Target, for example, Everybody says that they love Target because we all come together collectively and say that we love Target. We all know that there are some people who love Walmart more than Target. More power to them. But the ones of us who love Target come together and we're able to say, yeah, we love this. We are able to um psychologically, that's just people coming together in one thing. They're able to have a mutual agreement upon something, so they're going to push it forward. So when something new for Target comes out, they're the first ones to say it before Target even says it, right? Like they went in the store before Target even said anything online. Like they saw it as they were building it because they're there all the time. And I think in general, it's just good to build a community with your brand because it allows people to feel a sense of connection with something. They feel a sense of connection with your brand and a sense of connection with others when you have a community around your brand. One of the brands who I love the way that they do community is Glamaholic Lifestyle. All the girls from Mia Ray that love Glamaholic Lifestyle, they all come together. And they all talk about their favorite bags. They all talk about what they love. And then the CEO also builds community too. And so I think when CEOs are intentional about building community around their brand, it allows the customers to also feel more connected too.
Mm. So, what are some ways, and you don't gotta give us all your tea, girl, but what are some ways that you can encourage businesses to build community through their brand or
Yes.
social media? We'll do
Yeah.
with social media.
So with social media, the way that I recommend that you guys build a community around your brand is one, have something tangible that they can take from you. So for example, like with this podcast, there should be either a tagline that they know, there should be a gem that they all can share, there should be some form of branding that they can take with them that they feel connected to. So, like for example, if I had a podcast, I would give you guys like phone wallpapers every month. So now it's something that we all collectively know that we can all have at the same time, and we're doing it together in unity. When it
You
comes
would
to
give them what? Sorry, let me take
would give
notes.
them yeah, I would give them phone wallpapers. So like iPhone wallpapers. Like here's our
Okay.
here's our phone wallpaper for the month, and it would be a gem that I've already shared in my podcast. And so with that, now we all know that we love the gem. It has the podcast on it, and we are looking forward to it. And I'm keeping this wallpaper for the month. And then with me having that, if I was to see somebody in Target, let's go back to Target. See somebody in Target with that same wallpaper, I would be like, hold
Mhm.
on, wait a minute. You listen to that podcast? Girl, yes, I blah 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 blah. Blah. Episode, 19 was my favorite because it was helping me get through a hard season. And so now two
Mhm.
of us are talking about a brand without the CEO having to even be there. And so you want to create a conversation around your content as you're creating it, which creates community. So that's how you should do it.
Okay. Okay. And how does a business owner nurture their community? You mentioned, you build community, but how do you nurture your community as a business owner?
Yeah. So the thing that people on Instagram are getting wrong is this cold DMing thing, right? Where they just throw a random DM at you. We ain't never talked to you a day in your life, CZQ, and then you're telling me about your business coaching program. The issue with that is that the same gumption that people have with cold DMing is the same thing that they should be doing with people they're already talking to. So if I'm already talking to you, we should have a conversation of at least 6 different bubbles when I go to click your DM, right? There should be something that I've said to you already. The average person before, it used to be 3 to 6 touch points, but I say it now takes about 8 to 15 because they have so many things competing for their attention. So we thought that
Right. And
only
they've been
8 to 10,
desensitized.
yeah, and so we
Mhm.
thought only 8 to 10 was enough, but I say 8 to 15 because by the time you get to 10, something else has distracted them. So you got to talk to them at least 5 more times. And so with you nurturing your community is when I'm doing those IG question boxes, I don't just let people respond and then I leave it. A lot of times everybody's saying, "Well, what do you want to see from me in my content?" And y'all ask and then y'all leave it at that, which is like a hard stop conversation. You have to have a conversation that's like rivers, where it's like a continuous flowing body of water where the river doesn't stop unless something stops it. And so you have to keep it flowing. So I'm continuously talking to my audience, even if it's random stuff. Like I'm asking them, what do you actually like to eat for breakfast? Or girl, do you even eat breakfast? And then I'll tie it back to like a topic. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like so like different stuff like that
Yeah.
that allows me to nurture them where they feel like they're consistently talking to me. Not the only time I'm talking to you is to slide the promo code for my upcoming course.
So does everything that a business owner post have to be, because you just said something like eating breakfast, and I
Mhm.
guess like I'm thinking like that's not related to business. So how does that, would you say that those aspects of letting people into your life, not necessarily related to your specific business, is that a way to build community as
Definitely.
well?
Definitely. Because people want to know that you're human. And
Mm.
then also in general, when people book with you and they do a discovery call with you, they're talking to a human. So when I'm talking to my clients, we're not just talking about the social media marketing. I check in on them outside of just us doing that. So
Mm.
before we even start our calls, I'm checking in like, girl, how did your day go? How was your weekend? But I couldn't have that kind of conversation if that's not who I naturally am. One, in general, I'm just a natural extrovert, so we will talk for days. Okay, that's why I'm glad you put a cutoff time. But that's just me, but everybody's not like that. So what you do is
Mm-hmm.
you just share things organically and let the conversation flow. Even when I was doing stuff for the nonprofit, I would literally just share random stuff that dealt with the nonprofit but didn't deal with the nonprofit. So we would share stuff about the CEO's favorite color and then ask like, what is this your favorite color as well too? Or even sharing the favorites of like, this is one of her favorite t-shirt brands. And then other people say, oh yeah, I love this t-shirt brand too. And then they would start the conversation too. And then it ended up turning into a donation later on because they felt that the organization was relatable.
They connected.
Um, and
Right.
so with us, we, as entrepreneurs, sometimes it's more revenue focused versus than relatability. And I don't follow people like that, where every time I follow you, all I see is selling all day long. And so I like to be able to see who I'm buying from. And so if I don't feel like I can relate to you, and most
Mm-hmm.
consumers are like this anyway, if I don't feel like I can relate to you, I'm not going to want to buy from you. So sharing even something simple like your breakfast, or if you're really interested in getting your nails done and you share different designs and like help us vote on the
Mm-hmm.
design, simple stuff like that allows us to feel like we're a part of your everyday life too.
And humanizes you,
And
which builds
humanize it.
community.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, that's awesome. Awesome. Do you have any advice for people who are scared to put themselves out there on social media?
Girl, it is for you.
No, I put my. I mean, I don't share like personal. I think I have to do that because I was watching another social media guru.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but she was saying, you make the reels, but she was like, they stay or they follow because of your stories. They see like your personal life, and they're like, oh, she's interesting. I like her. So I'm like, I don't really post that much about my personal life on my podcast page. It's more so, like my very 4K videos with
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
captions and all that stuff. So I've been considering, being a little bit more vulnerable,
I love
which
that
is
for you.
important. I think for building any type of relationship, vulnerability is one of those components that you need.
Yeah, and I think that people think that when we say put yourself out there, they think like put your social security number out there, you know, give us a tour of your home, like tell us everything that's happening. Like the simplest things that I share are the things that more people enjoy. Like for
Mm.
example, the other day, and this is just because the style of my life, we were talking about when people can't cook but they want to invite you somewhere. and they've
Ooh.
cooked for the party. Yeah. And so people were just in my DMs, we were all talking, and that's just me just nurturing community. Then people asked about marketing like way after. But in that moment, that was something that they were able to just relate about because it was just me ranting, right? And sometimes the things that you used to be ranting about and you sharing your heart in that aspect, people be like, yes, girl, this bothered me too. Because plenty of people was like, yes, girl, I got invited the other day to somewhere, and the girl couldn't cook, and I was crying. I was like, "Oh shoot!" I said, "The girl, don't do that again." But it's just essentially that too. And then like when I talk about vulnerability, it means that you remove the fear of posting. So if it was up to me, I just feel like we could hide, like if we could just take a week and just hide people's follower count, everybody would post more if you weren't looking at somebody's follower account, because you would just only see the amount of posts we have. That would be the only number you see, and then you wouldn't have to focus on follower counts. So if that, because that's what really holds a lot of people back is the fear of losing followers, and the fear of they feel like I'm not going to gain any followers. But the tips that I would have is to put yourself out there, even if it feels uncomfortable. There is somebody that is attached to your assignment and they're waiting for you to post. And so every day that you delay posting and telling us about your story is a day that you delay somebody else's deliverance. And so, because I
Girl.
know what I'm called to, I cannot delay someone's deliverance due to my disobedience. So, I have to post it even when it's uncomfortable for me. I have to post it even when I don't feel like it. There are times where the Lord told me go live at the most awkwardest time, like a 12:36 p.m. What type of time is that? But
Right.
when I went on live on that time, the person that apparently needed to hear what I needed to say got what they needed. And so if I was disobedient and was like, I'm afraid to do this, I don't want to put myself out there. Me telling this personal thing is not really going to help anybody. It's not about them. I don't want them to know. It delays somebody's deliverance. And so at the
Mm.
end of the day, it ain't about me. So yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. Well, thank you, Danielle, for joining us today. You've dropped so many gems that I feel like
Oh, we thank
I'm
God.
gonna have to rewatch and unpack all of it because it was a lot. I can see how you are a powerful speaker.
Amen. We thank God.
Definitely one of your giftings. So, before we wrap up, I have 3 questions for you that I ask all my guests. So the first one is, tell me about a simple action that someone did that had a positive, powerful impact on you.
Hmm. I would say the simple action is something I was not expecting. Is on my birthday, so I'm usually the one that surprises everybody. At work, they actually like decorated my office, planned a whole little birthday cake and all that. To me, that was like it had a great impact because it showed that I can also be the receiver of surprises and I can also be the receiver of stuff too. And even though it was really simple, like they didn't even do a big thing. It was just like literally a balloon on a chair, and a small gift on a desk. It was like, that simple thing had a good impact. So I'm like, I want to have other people have this feeling as well too.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
Okay, in 3 words or less, tell me what are the qualities of a good friend.
In 3 words, I would say patient, um, loving, and I would say fun. Yep.
Oh, it's good. Fun. I don't think anyone said that yet, but I agree. Fun. Okay. So, if there was a member of your tribe that you could give flowers to right now, or shout out for being um, a great connection to you, who would it be?
I would shout out my best friend Abigail,
Go,
because she's
Abby.
so. Yeah, I was shout her out because not only is she a business owner, she is also a whole registered nurse. Okay, how do you do both? More grace to her. We thank God for the grace. To be able to do 12-hour shifts and still serve your clients well, like how? Okay, how? And then also just in general of doing that while also being supportive and being a great friend as well, and being helpful and being there for when I need it, calling when I didn't think I need to call, but apparently I need to call, praying for when I didn't ask for the prayer, but the prayer is needed, like giving gifts when I didn't ask, like just being a thoughtful, amazing, a great friend. And so I want to give her flowers. I would give her some flowers because they're also her favorite flowers too.
Ah, that's
Yeah.
sweet. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I hope that you guys got some nuggets. I hope that you had your pen and paper. If not, can run it back and take some notes, because I know I'm probably going to have to do that. Thank you so much, Danielle, for giving us tips about your personal friendships as well as building community as a business owner. All right, guys. Speak life, spread joy, make someone smile today. All right, bye.